slapped my mic on accident when I did that.
Yeah, as long as it peaked. I got that peak. It's a beautiful peaking line.
Hit mine pretty hard. Okay. How's everybody doing?
I'm pretty good, brother.
Yeah,
It's a
doing
good
fine.
time to be a gamer.
Oh, is this what this is about?
Why is it a good time to be a gamer, Crossley? Tell me.
The fuck you mean, bro? We're eating
Wait,
good.
wait,
The
hold
games
on.
are everywhere.
Wait, do you identify as a gamer, like, to people?
Yes.
Like, when you talk to people, you're like, yeah, I'm a gamer.
I don't know if I present it quite like that, but
What do you say when someone asks you if you have any hobbies? And because maybe you say like climbing,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about climbing. I know nothing about climbing. Don't tell me about climbing. What else do you?"
yeah, my hobbies are very, very on my chest, and it's gaming and magic. Like those.
Imagine meeting a person who they ask you what your hobbies are. You say one, and then they go, "I don't want to talk about."
Wait, no, that's not what I meant. Like, what do you actually do?
I feel like that would. I don't know. That I would be curious to know more about why they don't want to talk about something. It sounds traumatic. Like if you're like,
happened there.
Exactly. Like they're like, I don't want to talk about that. You're like, okay, climbing killed both of your parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's a realistic climbing story. I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's valid.
And we've all had trauma in gaming as well.
I guess to answer that honestly, I probably do list things that are like more I don't want to say culturally relevant, but like I guess just less of a like immediate, oh, that's who you are. So I'll be like, okay, yeah, climbing. I like movies a lot. I watch a lot of movies. And then I'll be like,
are you ashamed?
I do play video games.
You play video games? Is
no,
that where the root
like,
of this is?
I feel like if the first thing you say is video games, people are like, all right, I know who this is.
Well, they can think what they want. Most people just go home and fucking shove their thumb up their ass and they're like, I guess I'll see what's on the TV. Like, I'm sorry, I have hobbies that I actually enjoy and that actually captivate me and pull my attention and entertain me greatly for hours. Fuck all these fucking normies.
I do get that though. You know, there certainly is a stigma that still exists around playing video games. And so it's like, you know, when you're talking to someone, do you actually want to talk to them about, you know, the Valorant games you just played? Which is a perfectly fair conversation if that's what they're into. But it's almost like other forms of media are easier for small talk. Especially if you are someone who plays like competitive games, then, you know, that's like another angle that is harder to just bridge a conversation about.
To somehow make this like maybe like sound even worse for me or more elitist is like, yeah, it's exactly that. It's like I'm operating under the assumption that even if I did bring up video games, that person would not have.
Yeah, their taste would be different, but
it would not have interesting things to say.
It must happen with movies.
Oh,
if you bring up movies,
sure.
So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just spent a week in Vegas, so I'm at my all-time low in terms of like IQ at the moment. But like, I think I don't know. I think music. I feel like I'm more open to different music tastes than I am anything else. Like music, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like I understand why you might like something that I don't like pretty much 100% of the time. Maybe Taylor Swift or something being an exception just because it's like at this point so loaded. Actually, I feel like being a gamer is like being a Swiftie. They're like similar levels of judgment. Like if somebody's like, yeah, I really love Taylor Swift, I'm immediately like, okay, I'm suspicious about who you really are.
But you know, as a form of media, I guess what game characterizes, because that seems like a better corollary. Like what video game would be the Swiftie in this?
League of Legends.
League of Legends.
That's probably 100%. That's probably true. Maybe World of Warcraft at one point, but I think that's fallen down the cultural ladder a little bit.
So League of Legends, like, and where's Fortnite? I guess, or is that just like old news?
That's true.
No,
it's
Fortnite is still pretty big. A lot of
probably
people
is
do play
Fortnite now.
Fortnite too that are like normies. So
Normies.
that's fair. Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't play video games, but they play Fortnite.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing to consider.
I feel like at this point,
same thing with Call of Duty.
At this point, everybody plays some game, right? At some point.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to say is like,
yeah, exactly.
The reason I like wear it on my chest is that there's always something to talk about with people, especially if y'all are into mobile games, which I've been into mobile games like my whole life. So I always have something interesting to talk about with somebody gaming related because everybody plays a game on their phone if they don't play real video games. And I think there's some fucking banger mobile games out there. So it's just like, you know.
What makes a video game real, Crossley?
You know what I mean by that.
Crossley, of all the people that I get to talk to on a regular basis, has the most staunchly held beliefs about things that, like, I feel like at a certain point in time, our discussions we've all had, and Crossley just drives it. He's like, I'm about this. Like, it's, I absolutely love it. I think back very fondly to you and
a video
Tyler.
Game realist.
Absolutely, a video game realist.
There's true objective fact on what video games are real.
One of my favorite memories is Crossley and Tyler getting in that like borderline death match about VR. That's like, listen, you need a man who's principled in your circle. It's like those memes where it's like, if your circle isn't discussing, you know, video game realism and the death of VR, find a new circle. Your network is your net worth.
You know, me and Tyler have been talking a lot lately because he's getting into Magic. Pretty heavily. I don't know how much money he spent, but he's like going down the rabbit hole fast, and I'm hella into it. But yeah, I forget what we were talking about, but somehow I got on some tangent about VR, as I always do. And then like the end of it was him going, "Yeah, that sounds pretty sweet, man." And then my response is, "Yeah, it's too bad you fucking hate VR." And we got a good laugh out of that. Good little reference to the conversation you were talking about.
That's a core memory.
Yeah, for sure.
We're back.
What? Oh.
Welcome. No doubt at this point, the listener has noticed, the dutiful listener will have noticed a third voice joins the chorus this week. I'm so excited because I get to welcome Bipol back onto the podcast. It's a beautiful day indeed. What a day to be a gamer.
I certainly identify as a gamer through and through. I have no shame in that identification.
Yeah.
Especially considering I don't actually play video games very often. But Starfield has been happening in our Baldur's Gate playthrough, so I think I might have an opinion on things, but we'll see where it goes.
Lately,
the introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. Lately, I feel like you've been playing a lot of games. So there should be plenty to talk about. Of course, joining me as always, Chris Crossley.
Yo, what's up?
He wiggled his eyebrows. And I'm your host, William Chandler. This is the Infinite Scale Podcast. It's about video games. I know. That's shocking. Unbelievable. I don't even like... All I play is Fortnite. I don't even like video games. I'm not a real gamer, according to Crossley.
As someone who plays lots of Fortnite, I know you're fucking lying.
Yeah. Do not play any Fortnite.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think to Bipol's point earlier, there are definitely video games to talk about. There's also a little bit of news happening, but I think I really want to talk about the thing that I imagine most people have been thinking and talking about over the last few weeks, which is Starfield. I am the person who has definitely played the least.
Yeah, I've noticed you've been on it though. When you can, you're trying to get that time in.
Yeah, I have. I have unfortunately a travel schedule that does not allow me to play a bunch. So
Yeah.
It defines the amount of time I get to spend on something. So I'm gonna let you guys go kind of into your experiences more than mine, because it'll mostly just be me going, wow, that sounds really cool, and I wish I could do that. So
yeah,
let's guess first. Let me. Well, go ahead, Crossley. What do you got?
I just want to make clear before me or Bipol say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want us to tell you stuff that, like I guess spoilery type stuff, or really just talk a little more generally about things instead of specific?
I think I'll say this, and you guys can correct me if you think this changes at some point. I don't think the story of this game is very good or interesting. I think the world and the lore and like the setup of the universe is relatively interesting, but at no point so far has a narrative thread grabbed me outside of, I did just finish the UC stuff last night. On the xenobiology quest line.
Yeah, right.
I assume you guys have done that.
I'm in the middle of that.
Okay.
I just went and killed the first big nasty monster, and the lady was like, I don't think you can kill that. And I was like, oh, I think I can kill it, lady. And I fucking murdered it. And she's like, I don't think anyone's ever done that. And I'm like, well, here I am.
Nice. Okay.
And now, yeah.
I think that actually goes places that I find relatively interesting.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Xenobiology is the UC stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which I think you already talked about finishing, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So but I'll say, I mean, just as my general impression, I'm not that interested in the story stuff as it's gone so far. So
yeah, I think it's the worst part of the game, honestly. The main quest is like the least interesting quest compared to what the faction quests and stuff have.
So Bipol, are you still in it, or are you totally done at this point? How many hours are we talking?
I don't know. How many hours? I don't know. Certainly over 30, 40 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done with the main quest, and I've done New Game Plus. My opinion as well is that the main quest of, scavenging, finding artifacts, all that jazz, is not super interesting to me. Although when I first was playing it blind, I was intrigued by it. I wanted to know more. But after going through New Game Plus, or entering New Game Plus, my perception of the game has changed completely, in that I am understanding the mechanic of the main quest for what it is, which is just the setup for the loop. And the loop being, you have the game loop within the game, there's several loops, right? Whether it's outpost building or crunching missions and grinding or getting your perk points. There's also the, greater loop of finding the artifacts, gaining power in that way, and then eventually, entering maybe another New Game Plus. So I am intrigued about that, especially from a Bethesda story perspective of introducing something that seems very antithetical. Is that the word I'm looking for? Of what their previous games were, which is crafting a role play experience and building the world and molding it to your choices and will. And then also having this game, Starfield, have something where it's more about wiping the slate clean and your character's growth, maybe through making that choice in multiple times. Because I certainly felt that. And so my last bit that I'll say about this is just, I spoke to you, Crossley, about the feeling I had and these are I've been like just rambling about spoilers here. I apologize if this is
No.
if I'm going down a dark path here, but at the end of the game, you kind of have a couple choices. You know, there's the red light, the blue light, and the green light. Is that what it was?
Sounds extremely familiar.
It not literally, but it feels like that situation.
I hope Keith David is there.
If only.
Yeah, if only.
Great.
That would be nice.
And so you can choose it from there, and there's one character who's all about power and another character who maybe is about power but also about protecting power so it doesn't mislead people. You know, like with great power comes great responsibility kind of thing. And initially I was like, I think my character would choose, you know, the lighter, what might be described as the good choice if it is good and evil and other being the choices. But after choosing that and my universe getting reset, and then the game is like, oh yeah, you're back. By the way, you married this woman that she's like still maybe in that universe. Maybe she also did New Game Plus.
And is now in her own new universe.
Doing her thing in her own universe. So everything that you built, like your character that you built, that person can be whatever it wants now. And in that moment, I was like, so I guess I can just go and gather the artifacts again, or like I could do these quest lines again, but I no longer cared that much because I know where it's leading. And so I sort of became disillusioned with my human interpretation of the role play of my blind playthrough, where it's like, I'm a real person in Starfield. I want to build a cool ship. I want to have a cool crew. But once all of that disappeared, I realized that maybe I'm becoming a monster because I know I can just reset the universe. And maybe that's like a part of what I'm supposed to war with. Is like, do I want to pursue a relationship with my crewmates, or are they just a means for me to attain the power that is presented to me so I can reset the universe again and then fly around or something with my new alien powers? I liked that. That felt interesting, but the game itself, do I care to play it to actually continue to explore this? I'm honestly getting to a point where I'm a little burnt out. When my initial playthrough, I wanted to build outposts and do all this stuff, but now I don't know if I want to do that in my New Game Plus. I don't know what I want to do because it all feels like it could disappear once I enter that portal again.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I've heard like whispers of this, or I've seen like vague text about this sort of thing online about how like this main storyline recontextualizes the game. It does sort of feel like Bethesda like meta addressing the way their games work. Like if you think about like some of the biggest criticisms of Bethesda games have always been like, well, certainly, I mean, outside of, you know, kind of their classical stuff. So we'll say Oblivion onward, the biggest criticisms of their games have been that the role-playing aspect is sort of muted by whatever the story is, right? So like the main story kind of casts you into a specific role. It recontextualizes your place. So it doesn't really make sense, say, for a guy who's in the Dark Brotherhood to also save the world from the Oblivion Gates necessarily, right? Or even worse is a guy who just does everything. Like a guy who he's the mage, you know, leader, he's the fucking Dark Brotherhood guy, he's like leading the, you know, the army or whatever. Like it none of that, and then, you know, you wrap it up and you've 100% of the game and the role play aspect is totally thrown out the window. So it does feel like the game, like the way they're structuring this thing, and I only know what you've told me and what I've seen online, but it does seem like based on that information, it starts to make sense to me. Like imagine like Todd Howard sitting there and thinking about how do we address this? Let's make an entire game that's just about, okay, we'll go through a path in 20 or 30 hours and then just start over with some, you know, kind of things tweaked and changed and some of your power still there. And now go be Crimson Fleet and be evil or something like that. You know, however you want to do it.
Right.
So Crossley, have you finished as well?
Oh yes, I am. I'm deep in the New Game Plus run, and I was going to be the psycho that like went through many New Game Pluses to see as many different possibilities as I could, but then I realized there was more possibilities than I would have originally ever thought. So I'm just waiting for like a YouTube compilation to show me all the possibilities of the new universes. But
Interesting.
yeah, I'm in my New Game Plus, and now I'm just kind of grinding out all the side quests that I didn't do in my first playthrough. And I'm having a great time. I was kind of where Bipol was at mentally with it until I really forced myself to start doing some of the side quests and kind of get reinvested in the parts of the game that are actually like really good. And yeah, I'm taking a little bit of a break now just because I've been doing other stuff, but yeah, I really want to finish the side quests, and then I'll probably be actually done with Starfield until they like add more content or something. But
I'm curious if we agree on this. What are the parts of the game that are really good to you guys?
I think the faction quests are pretty top tier, and then the like this is hit or miss, but the ones that hit I think are good. But just the random quests that are like one-offs, basically, that you're done in like 5 to 10 minutes, some of those are really fucking good too. And then there's just like the random moments, like I don't know if either of y'all experienced this, but there's this place I want to say in Neon. Maybe I'm getting that part mixed up, but there's like an apartment, just this random apartment. And the only reason I even went in there is because I had a objective on the other side of it, and I couldn't find how to get to it, like walking around the apartment. And I was like, well, fuck it, I'll just break in and go through the apartment and get to it. And so I break in, and first thing I see is a corpse and blood everywhere. And then like 5 seconds later, this fucking giant robot thing like comes out of the room and just like immediately attacks me. And I'm like, okay. And then I kill it, and I'm sort of looking around the apartment trying to figure out what happened here. And yeah, there's like a data log that the dude had made, and he's like basically trying to buy this illegal robot that you know, whatever I just killed. And he's like trying to buy it from the guy, and it's like a whole thing. And then so it ends with the dude who's dead in this apartment scams the guy he's buying it from and like doesn't give him the money or something. And so he's back at his apartment sending the dude he just fucked over like, haha, got you, nerd. And then the dude's like, you know, I can just activate that thing from here and kill you, right? And then that's obviously what happened. But it's just small little things like that where it wasn't even a quest. It's just like this thing I came across, and it's really interesting. And like that thing I was telling you, Chandler, with the AI robot in space that I just randomly came across, and it was like tied to Ryujin, which was also just, that was all random. By the way, I finished the Ryujin quest, and that never came up. That was just a random thing that happened.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that. The random stuff that seems to come out of nowhere, and then yeah, the faction quests and some of the smaller side quests. Yeah, that's where I think they put all the love and attention. It honestly is a bummer that the main quest doesn't have like, I don't know, more to it. I don't even know how to phrase it properly. It's just like, it's so weird that it's so like milquetoasty. Like, I don't know, get these things, go to the end and make a decision. Like, I wish there was something else to it. Or that the faction quest even tied into it in some way. Like, I feel like no matter what I align with or who my character becomes, it really doesn't matter. You're just going to make a choice at the end where all the stuff you did literally doesn't matter to the choice you're making. It's just up to you what you want to do at that moment. There's no like, oh, you did all this, so now it's like this. I don't know. It's just like, all right, you're here again. Make a choice. I don't know. I just wish it all like tied into the main quest in some way, or felt like the main quest was connected to the rest of the game. It's just like, if you, I don't know. The main quest is weird, but I really will say I'm glad I went to New Game Plus at the very least. I love what they give you and what it's trying to do. But yeah, I think that more or less summarizes my thoughts.
Yeah, it's, you know, on some level, this it's like we're in a repeating universe, because I feel like we have these same critiques, these same talking points every time a Bethesda game comes out, right? Which is like these these things don't always connect in satisfying ways. There's a lack of, they kind of give you motivation in terms of new gear, maybe faction quests, maybe interesting plot threads or storylines randomly sprinkled here and there. But the motivation for these games is often entirely like generated from you, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, what am I willing to do? What am I interested in? I'm not even in New Game Plus, and there was a moment I was trying to kind of bust through some of this last night and this morning, and there was a moment where I was just like, I finished the UC xenobiology thing, and I was like, to me, I can't see any other aspect of the game being this interesting, or you know what I mean? Like, and suddenly I was like, do I really want to do any of this other stuff? Like, I had like the undercover stuff with the Crimson Fleet available, which was weird in its own way, because I apparently progressed that to a point where I was ready to go be inducted into the fleet and then left it. And it turns out if you do that and then just go around the universe, none of the Crimson Fleet will attack you now. Every other quest in the game was broken because you run into them so much. So I'd been running into situations where I have to rescue someone from the Crimson Fleet, and I just stroll through their entire fucking base and talk to that person. They're like, thank God you got rid of all those guys. And I'm like looking around, like they're all still here. They're like, oh, hey, what's up? Like, there's just so many things about it that are so strange. And I don't know, like I found myself looking through my quest log and reading like the synopses of what they want me to do and being like, I don't really care about any of this. Which is interesting. But I do think that if you just kind of, I guess it's bad to say, but if you just kind of like don't think about it and just go through it, there are some things that you'll just stumble into that are satisfying, I guess. Yeah. Do you guys ever feel like, I don't know, like the way, I don't know. Is it because we've been playing games too long, or is it just this is truly the issue with this game? Like okay, let me back up. So like you read review scores and it's like 9s and 10s, and you come away from something like this thinking about how a person, is it possible they got more out of it than you did? You know what I mean? Like, is it just possible that the people like responsible for critiquing these things don't have these thoughts? Am I just tired of games like this? Or I don't know. I'm always thinking about stuff like that. But
I think in terms of Starfield, this game will last a lot longer than this moment, if it's anything like any other Bethesda game. And so once Creation Kit 2 comes out, it's going to have a resurgence in some way. Crossley said something when I was a week ago, or whenever we were talking last about Starfield, that I thought was interesting, which was, I'm very interested to see like what the forgotten city of Starfield will be. And I think that's a really interesting point. Like the system that they built, the underlying structure of the game is interesting enough for me that I played it and I get it and I might enjoy it. Like I tried to do outposts. I tried to focus on outposts in my first playthrough, and I started to butt into the reality that like this isn't supposed to take this much time, and you could invest time to do it, but what's the value of doing all of this? But the system that they built does exist. There is that idea of interstellar, outposts existing and things being built. So all of these little frameworks that they've already built into the game, I think, will become more expressive over time. And that might make the game more interesting and more long-lasting in the same way that Skyrim has a billion, quadrillion mods of various levels of support.
Yeah.
But I don't think this addresses anything that you said, which is like the 9s and 10s of the reviews that are currently coming out for Starfield. Because, they're seeing the vanilla game as well, not necessarily thinking about the future of it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, Crossley, go ahead.
No, you.
I mean, I guess it's just maybe I do value things about games that are not represented in Bethesda games anymore, right? I mean, maybe that is really just it, which is I really do want those narrative hooks, and that is when I find the most enjoyment in the game. And for me, like it's like the Outpost stuff, like I've barely even touched it, and I know it's because like what I saw them do in Fallout 4, like all of the things I imagine they sacrificed in Fallout 4 to get that system working, were not, that trade-off was not not worth it for me as a player. But
The one thing I will bring up with Fallout 4 specifically is that due to the modding community, those sim settlements is the big settlement mod for Fallout 4, and it has an entire quest line, like hours and hours of quests, fully voiced companions that are a part of that quest, and they've rebuilt like settlements in general, allowing you to do a lot more interesting things with it. And so that's what I'm curious about. You know, we have shipbuilding in Starfield that is new. So like what will people do with shipbuilding? You know, like will people someone glitch themselves out of their their spaceship to do kind of a spacewalk?
I saw that. Yeah, that's cool.
And so it's like things like that. It's the modding community will find ways to make those parts of the game more interesting and possibly more intriguing. But I agree with you with like my favorite moments in Bethesda games are building a character that is hamstrung in some significant way that I have to like build around. But Starfield is not the game that facilitates that for me because I am endlessly getting more powerful in every playthrough.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like genuinely kind of depressed when I had to enter the Unity, and I thought to myself, this is what Todd wants me to feel. He wants me to feel the sense of sacrifice and, you know, that real explorers are risking their lives to do things that seem absurd to the average person. Like, why do I want to go to the moon? You know, like, do I actually want to go and live on Mars? No. But there are people who do this in order to see what's next kind of thing. So I got that and I like that, but I don't want that for my sandbox role-playing game, personally.
Yeah. I guess on some level, Starfield is successful because it does inspire conversations like this, right? Like it is one of those games that truly feels like it changes what the medium will look like moving forward. Like, I mean, and I think that is true every time a Bethesda game comes out. Like, you can feel like influences from these major releases like creeping into the rest of what people, you know, what developers want to implement and things like that. Yeah, it's just interesting. It's like mechanics for the sake of themselves is really what this game seems like. You know, things like like cooking, which you never, ever, ever need. It's not like Breath of the Wild where you kind of do need to engage with that in order to get through the game. There's really like, you don't have to ever cook a thing in this game, but it's there if you want to.
I would love if there were companion affinity systems that were based on that. If I could, I love like trivial conversations with characters. You know, I pursue romances in like BioWare games and Bethesda games because I genuinely enjoy that kind of silly smut, you know? Yeah. And in this case, it's like even the wedding scene, I romanced Sarah in my first playthrough. The wedding scene that they built for that is like an afterthought, which is strange to me. For sure. Especially when I was reading online that people didn't even achieve that within like hours and hours and hours of playing with a single companion, whereas I had min-maxed it by taking the companion affection drugs and always making sure that I was like hyped up on them in order to get to the end because I wanted to see, you know, what that was like. But it's like those moments where I like, of course, you know, in the writer's room, they build all of this content and not all of it gets built into the game. I'm very curious about what parts of the story they just weren't able to finish. Yeah. And if I kept butting into those moments. Yeah, you brought up, it was actually the well is where that event was where you found that robot kind of dog who had killed the person.
Yeah.
And I also experienced that and I thought it was really cool. But those like planned moments I don't know how many of them there are. Like I also experienced the AI, the rogue
Okay.
AI spaceship.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
and
either
those are
of those.
cool things, but you know, how much content is there for me to chew on? And there's not enough of that sandboxy influence I feel like I can impart on the game that I felt maybe in other games. I don't know. Bethesda games, even like Fallout New Vegas, I have innumerable hours in, but I always played these silly characters that didn't make a lot of sense, but I could just act like it made sense in the world and do these things, make decisions based on that. Whereas Starfield, you brought up the wearing every hat by the end of the game. You can do that in Starfield too. Like there are some choices that are definite, but I can still be a sheriff over here for the Freestar Collective and a citizen of the UC.
Yeah.
The most interesting faction is one that I think, don't really get to experience too much to me, which is the religious fanatics of the Varun Syndicate, I think is what they're called. And that's what I really want to dive into, but I don't think I haven't done like all of Andrasia's storyline, but I don't think you get a lot from that.
Yeah,
it's still
House
supposed to be mysterious by the end. Yeah, House Varun.
Yeah, I was curious about that because I haven't been to Neon yet either, by the way. So there's a lot of this game that I still haven't seen. But the thing that I'm always thinking about is like, I'm in this loop that I've been in long enough that I'm getting sick of it, right? But how much out there is there that I still haven't seen, and will that kind of invigorate, or will that recontextualize? Like the House Varun stuff. Whenever you run into them, they're pretty much just insane enemies outside of that one quest where you have to go into the consulate. I don't know if you guys did that and talk to the guy, and I was like, this is cool. Like I was like, this is interesting. Like they need to.
Andrasia has a lot to say too about it that you uncover as you pursue her.
That's interesting to me as well. As soon as I kind of got back on track with the main quest this morning and got her back to the base, back to the lodge, and I wanted to carry that on, but I was like, I need to get done with this Crimson Fleet stuff, because I rescued her from the Crimson Fleet by walking in through that entire level that looked like it was laid out for a very lengthy, meticulous dungeon dive / firefight, and just walked through everyone and got her and the artifact and just went on my merry way, and was like, I gotta do this fucking Crimson Fleet thing so I can get back to killing these guys, or whatever. I mean, it's just,
and she is killing someone when you meet her.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wait, actually, I'm friends with them.
Well, actually, what's funny is, and this is why I was even more confused, and I don't know if they thought through this or not, but if you notice, those guys that she kills are House Varun people. They're not Crimson Fleet.
That's probably the case. I might even be misremembering what she says about it.
So she's like, oh, can we not talk about this, or don't mention this to whatever the guy's name at the eye is, because he's always worried about me. But the House Varun tracks me everywhere I go, or something like that. I'm like, so you're telling me that you killed 2 House Varun guys in the mouth of this dungeon full of Crimson Fleet people? Just weird, like, narrative shit. Something actually, not to go on a huge tangent here, but the game buttoned up a plot hole that I brought up to you, Bipol, about the Terramorph thing. That I don't know if you remember this, but this was in like a brief conversation we had about how the Terramorphs work, and how like that quest line, there was something very strange about it that I brought up to you. And they specifically address that later in that quest.
I think I remember you saying this, and I had knowledge of it.
I know you did, yeah.
So,
and which is funny. And I don't want to spoil it for Crossley, so we'll just leave it. But like, there's a thing that happened, and I was like immediately like, how stupid video game, writing is. And then they address it, not in a way that I think is good. I mean, kind of, I guess, but like, okay, at least they acknowledged it. So every time things like this happen, I'm always wondering if, now I'm like, okay, well, maybe they have thought of this and they acknowledge how silly this is. And I'm sure they do. Like, that's the thing, is like, game developers and writers, they make mistakes, but it's not like they're not like us. Like, they're all, people who probably think similarly critically about the things, the media that they engage with. So it's not like they never think of these things and we're like bringing it up to them for the first time. But, anyway, that's that.
My only other criticism is that there's no evil companion, really.
Yeah,
Truly.
it's one of my biggest issues is with the companions in general. They're like so underdeveloped almost, I guess, and so uninteresting and so milquetoast. Like,
it's my wife you're talking about.
Yeah, well, she's like the most basic white woman companion I've ever fucking seen in a video
she
game.
Really sucks. As soon as I met Andrea, I was like, okay, like I'm about to get
We're
rid of
getting
one.
somewhere, like all right.
But the okay, you guys maybe know this then. So none of the Crimson Fleet characters can be companions. I guess you have to go down that path if you want that to be the case.
There are like essential companions, of which there are only 4, I think.
Right.
And
there's only 4 of the people at Constellation.
I see.
And those are the ones that you can pursue the friendship of or the romance of.
I see.
And so they have built out stories that are triggered based on the affinity. And I don't think any of the other companions, of which there are voiced other companions who can be like on your crew, or you can take them out battling stuff, but they don't have that level of affinity. And I think that's the purpose of them, so that you can do things that the other companions may object to. These crewmates you have, I don't think have a positive. I'll be honest, I've not used them really.
Yeah.
So
that kind of sucks. I feel like that really narrows the scope, I guess, of what I imagined, because I was like, oh, maybe because like, I mean, through the xenobiology questline, for instance, there are a lot of characters that you could see that you could be like, I want this guy to stick around with me, right? Or whoever. Like they've got the guy who voices Jet from the dub of Cowboy Bebop as like one of the main characters in that storyline. I'm like, dude, I want this guy in my ship all the time. Just but
I'm really let down with the companion options, just period. Like I am really bummed out that there's only 4 and that the 4 I have are all kind of uninteresting. Barrett is really, really cool. I honestly think he's awesome, but he also died in my playthrough and I didn't really have any control over that. So I lost Barrett. And then Andrea is the only other one that's interesting. And granted, she is very interesting, probably the most interesting. But it just sucks that essentially means she's the only option for me. Like, I don't have other options. I'm not going to go with fucking Sarah for sure. And I don't even remember the 4th one. So obviously I don't give a fuck about them. Like,
yeah, I think
no Minthara.
No, yeah, definitely not. I think it's interesting that you say you can lose Barrett, because I wasn't even aware they were willing to go there, because I haven't continued that quest line at all. But the I think the most damning thing I can say about the companions is that I've been traveling with Vasco, who has Vasco, the fucking robot.
Vasco's
dude.
Romance arc is incredible.
Oh,
I bet.
Wait,
I wish there was
No,
one.
you can't.
Vasco can be your companion?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he just rolls with me everywhere I go. I actually, if I have to pick up another companion, I crew him to my ship just so I can always talk to him, because I mean, he's amazing.
So there's 5 companions. Or is he the 4th one?
But like, you can't, like, he's a robot, so they don't have an arc for him. There's no like friendship meter or anything like that. He just exists. So he may as well be a hired.
Sam, Barrett, Andreja,
Sarah, and the robot.
And the robot. Those are so the affinity, I don't think the robot has an affinity meter. And
that I understand. I just didn't even realize he could be a companion. I thought the 4 affinity people were the only options for your companions. I didn't even realize you could have the robot as a choice.
Oh yeah, I mean there are many more companions. Like when you go into a bar and you talk to those people, they could be your crew, but they can also, you can just be like, "Come with me," and then they'll follow you around and be the person.
What?
Yeah.
I did not.
Because some of them don't even have crewed perks. Right. They only have like, I know how to use shotguns, and it's like, why would I want you on my spaceship then? That doesn't help at all.
He's just shooting out the window.
Yeah. He's not going anywhere, Captain.
I actually didn't know that. Okay. Huh.
Yeah. I mean, there's like things like that are interesting, and I clued into that by mistake, because one of the one of just the random people that you can hire onto your crew, who is the person that starts the game talking to you, Lynn. You could just be like, hey, come with me, and they will.
Yeah. I did that with her. She came on my ship the whole game,
and like,
she's cool.
But also as a companion, like you can just have her run around.
Yeah, see, I didn't know that.
Right. Yeah. But it's it's interesting because clearly the system is there, but then I guess it sounds like the only ones who really get any depth are the Constellation people. So that kind of sucks. But I guess is that. And I'm trying to remember how it's worked in past Bethesda games, but I suppose that is kind of true as well in those games. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. There are companion quests, but at least in terms of romancing, the affinity system affected each NPC in the game.
Yeah.
So that's why you could do things like marry anyone or
that's true.
Have an arbitrary amount of followers.
Yeah.
Which is why I really feel like in a game like this, I think the max crew count is maybe 8 or something based on a perk. Yeah. I want to have 40 people on a ship. I want to have like a battle cruiser. And I never want it to be able to land or something like that. I think all of that would be awesome. And I think the game could do it. I'm sure there will be a mod that will do it.
Okay.
Or that they will release more ship stuff.
So I read a tooltip that was like the maximum size ship that can land is however many meters from like tip to tip.
Yeah.
That led me to believe that maybe you could have a ship that was so big you had to have like fucking landing craft inside of it or something. Or like a
just
drop
more
pod.
Landing gears.
Okay.
So it has to be a certain size and the game will not let you extend. But also you can always build up.
Yes.
So you can have double stories, and there's a maximum number of modules you can have as well.
Yeah.
So there's a module limit.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing I haven't done is really got any new ships.
It's hard.
Yeah,
in the game if you didn't perk that way, because I did not perk that way, and now I'm in New Game Plus, and I'm like, what the fuck do I want to do? I guess I want to build a cool ship, and it's like, you can't build a cool ship unless you perk into all of this, and now I'm level 48 or something, and it takes a long time for me to get my perks up.
Yeah, that was the thing I started to realize. Like, it feels like at the beginning perks are coming really quickly, but then it really starts to slow down, and then choices become a little bit painful because you're like, okay, well, like I just unlocked the master lockpicking thing, by the way.
Yeah.
Which, first of all, I fucking regret because I'm breezing through every other level of lock. It felt like those were just the joke till you got to the master lock, because I just had a master lock that I spent like 40 digipicks on and finally got. That was basically like, okay, we're tricking you into using things that you will need at the very, very last level earlier. I mean, which is fucked up, because then the best thing you could do is just back out and start completely over again. Like,
people really enjoy this minigame, and I do sometimes, but I really want good loot from it.
Yeah.
And I often do not get anything worthwhile, and that does frustrate me. And I've seen people on the internet say like, oh, I don't care, I get XP and it's fun. And I'm like, I don't want to sit here and do this.
It takes a long time.
Yeah,
sometimes I breeze through
time consuming. Yeah.
And I was one of the people who was defending it for sure. Like at first, like I think it's a fun mini game. It's probably the best lockpicking mini game they've done since Oblivion, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
And I mean, I don't know. I just did my master lock, and I feel bad because Jennifer was talking to me, and I was like, I'm sorry, I need to focus on that. I cannot listen right now. It was really upsetting. So I don't know.
How about the persuasion minigame?
Yo, that shit is at first I didn't get it, and I still kind of don't get it. But
you know?
I failed like the first 5 that I did, and I was like, dude, I'm an idiot. And then I started I started to kind of weasel my way into it, and now I get it every time. But go ahead.
If you let's say you're at the last attempt, like you get 5 attempts or whatever, and you're on the last one. If you succeed,
you always get another
going.
One. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did know that.
I did not know that until way too late. And it's like, okay, well now I'll just never fail these, I guess.
I
found that out at some point.
So a lot of people hate the diplomacy minigame or whatever in the persuasion minigame from Oblivion.
I liked that one.
But I like that one. And I like the idea like different people have different ways to pull their strings.
Yeah.
And this one, I think, is based still certainly on like random chance. I'm always drinking, I'm fucking glugging some wine before I talk to someone wearing my fancy hat. But I wish that there was more. I wish that characters. It was more like Baldur's Gate with characters having a continuum of do I like you or do I hate you, and it depends on what you're doing, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean,
as opposed to this. So
I guess in your experience, because it's kind of funny. It comes up very little so far in the game for me. Like I'm just persuading people not that often. Usually, I feel like if anything, it is my specialties or skills that like New Vegas style. It'll say like, oh, because your medicine is this high, you have, and it doesn't actually even give you a raw number. It just says medicine. Right. I'm a doctor, or whatever is the, and then you automatically succeed based on that.
And then they're like, okay, you're a doctor. Nice. I believe you now. Yeah.
Now, I'm something of a man of science myself. Yeah. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. That's funny. I've noticed that too. But what I will say is I had like so many chance to talk my way out of fights that my initial playthrough before I hit New Game Plus, I honestly didn't have that many firefights. I talked my way through almost everything. Like I was not having much gunplay. And me and Merced kind of talked about this, and he was saying something similar. So I'm really shocked to hear you say you're not getting to persuade much.
It felt like early on in the game it was happening all the time. And now I've gotten to, I guess, into quest lines where, okay, I mean, you're not going to talk to a terrormorph, I suppose. And that's how I just spent like the last like 5 hours playing the game, or whatever.
You didn't talk to the terrormorphs?
Yeah.
Right. You don't have animal speak, bro?
Yeah, you don't have fucking animal speak?
Yeah, dude. I kicked that terrormorph so hard. No, so something Bipol said just triggered me a little bit, which is that I was under the impression that if you were answering a dialogue option that based on that person's personality, you thought that they would like more. Does that not automatically give you the success or give you a better chance of success, or it has nothing to do with it? It's just always a dice roll?
Always a dice roll.
Really?
It's really annoying too. Like, I don't know if you remember the last time we talked, I was telling you about how through a dialogue thing, I was already pretty far through it, and then towards the end of it, I misclicked.
Yeah.
And then failed it. I was like, well, shit, I didn't mean to click that. Let me go back. And then I went back and was making the same choices, and I failed the roll on one of the earlier choices that I succeeded the last time. And I'm like, okay, go fuck yourself. Like, that's I hate that it's a dice roll instead of it being a percentage chance based off of who they are.
Does what you pick influence the dice roll? Like, is it ever?
Maybe. That might actually, because sometimes you'll have 2+1s.
Yeah.
And
right.
Okay.
I think one of them probably resonates with them more. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like
doped up.
I'll use the Sam Coe's dad one or uncle or whatever one, for instance, which was like when you're in his place, the way the one that got me the most points, the persuasion I ended up really killing it on was, hey, the sooner you give us this shit, the sooner we'll be out of your hair. Like you won't have to deal with us. Like just
same.
And he's like, you know what, that I'm sick of talking to you. Like, and then it succeeded, right? And so I was like, okay, I mean, that kind of lines up with what he's been saying before. What his character is he just wants us to go. So I don't know. But then again, earlier I tried to say, like, don't you want to make, the universe a better place for your granddaughter or something? And he was like, I don't give a fuck. And I was like, well, that doesn't seem quite like his character either. So I don't know. But yeah, fucking persuasion games. But Baldur's Gate really does it the best. Like, I'm trying to think of a game that does it better more recently. I did like the Oblivion minigame, I guess, as well, but I don't know.
Because you had the knowledge before you. Like,
be
that's
very clear.
Signal.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate does a lot of these things better as like a semi RPG.
Voices matter.
It really is just. It's funny that these two games are coming out back to back, and actually, what's even funnier is basically a pseudo Bethesda RPG in Cyberpunk is getting that huge update next week, because
I can't wait to
to
play
me
Cyberpunk again, man.
this game, I get like major Cyberpunk deja vu when playing this game in a
Yeah,
lot
me
of
too.
ways.
I do.
Because, and I guess to be fair, like it does seem like Cyberpunk kind of went the route of, you know, taking a lot from Bethesda RPGs and implementing it in their game. But the one thing that they are better at 100% is those random events. I think that we were talking about that draw you into the world, like those things that maybe aren't even quest lines.
Yeah.
What's up, Crossley?
I don't know about you two, but back when I played Cyberpunk, not all I could think about, but one of the things always in my brain at that time was like, this just feels like the best Bethesda game I've ever played. Like it does a lot of those things like you're saying, and I just feel like it does them so much better. Like,
yeah,
I mean, Cyberpunk's a great game.
What I was thinking about was mainly like missed potential. I think at the time, like, I mean, I really liked it.
For Cyberpunk?
I did really like that game. I mean, I think there's a podcast back there that will vouch for this, which is my main reason for doing this show, by the way, is that we could go back and re-listen to all of those thoughts that we had, and then we could, you know, whatever. But like, I mean, at the time, I really enjoyed it, but mainly for the story. Like, it really was the writing and the, you know, the character, the companion storylines and things like that carried that game for me.
Yeah.
And I think if the writing here was stronger, I could say the same, right? Overall.
I think something that I feel about Starfield is that it's not truly that ambitious to me. It does some cool things in the Bethesda spectrum that they've not done before, but it does feel like the system that I felt before. Like plopping in, it feels like another Bethesda game to me. It the same controls. Well, I say that, but like, you know, like the mechanics of it, I understand almost immediately.
Yeah.
But Cyberpunk did feel ambitious for the studio. It felt ambitious in like the way that they were building the storyline, the engine. You know, there was so much that they were trying to do, and so I respect that more. In hindsight, and maybe, but than Starfield, which doesn't feel that ambitious. Feels like I've not had too many bugs. I think it's and I expected it to be a lot worse. For me. But you know, it just feels like the polished Bethesda way.
Yeah,
is what this game is to me.
Yeah, it does kind of satisfy that cozy game feel, where like even though I put it on the harder difficulty, not the hardest, I guess, but the hard difficulty, it wasn't long before I was just comfortable with it and things were just going my way all the time. You know what I mean? Like, there are random moments that crop up where I'm like, damn, this guy takes a lot of bullets, you know, or dishes out some damage. But I kind of agree. It doesn't it feels nice to play. Like it's one of those things where it soothes my brain when I'm playing it. But is that what I'm looking for from the medium now at the ripe old age of 29, where my gaming time is limited? Like, would I rather have something like Baldur's Gate, where the scope and the magnitude of it like breaks my brain when I think about it, and like the number of choices you can make and how deeply they thought about every single thing? Or would I rather have something like this, where they built a bunch of tools and just said, go wild, you know, like here it is. And I guess I think I know the answer to that at this point, which is definitely the former. But I guess there are a lot of people out there who would rather have this, right? Like they like the freedom, they like the kind of open aspect of it. And it is cool that we're at a time in video games where both get to exist side by side very, very openly. I think for us, we're coming off of a bunch of years of this Bethesda game being, if you wanted an RPG, this was the best it got, right? Like it was like Mass Effect, like BioWare, you had some BioWare games, you had Bethesda, you had Obsidian, and that's it. right? I mean, it other than indies, there were like some indies kicking around. It does feel like we're now back with Baldur's Gate and with Disco Elysium and some things the last few years where role playing games are really, really, truly back in vogue. And I think maybe that also, or The Witcher 3 as well. I mean, that was, but I think we're at a point now where we'll start getting the things that we really want from games, which means Bethesda games to me are only going to be less and less satisfying.
Yeah, I think about that a lot when I play this game. And I was kind of talking about the same thing with Merced last night, but at a different angle. But he was talking about how it's like, he's being very Merced about it. He's basically just saying how shitty of a game it is because it's so Bethesda, and how games have come so far, but then Bethesda is still like doing all these Bethesda things. And I'm like, well, just think about Elden Ring though. Like you could apply the same thing there. Like it's their biggest and most ambitious game yet. And there's so much like From Software, like janky, their janky design is like still a part of it. And you can't escape that. Like, yes, video games have come so far and advanced so much. And then you look at stuff that From Software is still doing and you're like, well, that's kind of funny that From Software-ism is still there. But it's the same thing with Bethesda. Like it's so clearly a Bethesda game, and that's just how they design stuff. Like, but going back to what you just said, I don't know if they don't like seriously evolve how they do stuff, if I'll even be interested in like the next Skyrim or Fallout. I don't know if I'll care at all. Like this one appealed to me because it's sci-fi, and I fucking love space and sci-fi so much, and I've wanted that in a Bethesda RPG for forever. So it's like this was a special case for me. But yeah, I don't know if I'll play the next Fallout or the next Elder Scrolls because I just don't know if I'll care to do that again. I've done that, I've done Fallout and I've done Skyrim. Like I just don't need to do that again, but with nicer graphics and new quests. Like I don't know.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say on this, and then we should move on from Starfield because I feel like we've tapped the well a little bit for now, but like it is kind of funny to see this in the Outer Worlds now side by side, because it does really feel like Obsidian and Bethesda, whether they knew it or not, were so aligned. Like the Outer Worlds, obviously in terms of scope, is so much narrower.
Yes.
But the games succeed and fail in a lot of similar ways, and the structure is remarkably similar. I think that game, if you're judging these kind of on a curve, Starfield is so much more ambitious and interesting in that sense. But there are so many similarities in terms of the way you traverse the gameplay, like the mechanics, the way the systems work. It's fascinating now, especially as somebody who tried to make their way through the Outer Worlds recently, like in the last year, and found it pretty impossible to do. I think this game succeeds where that game fails, but it's funny that they're so similar.
And one more thing before we move on away from it, me and Tran were playing No Man's Sky last night, and it's painful how much fun that game just is, and how much like I couldn't help but be like, damn, I wish this was in Starfield. Like I wish these games could somehow fucking make a baby, and it'd be the coolest fucking sci-fi space, like get lost in the fucking universe game that ever existed, because it's like they're both missing what the other one have. And if they could just somehow like, oh god. But I think I'm about to go down another rabbit hole of No Man's Sky with Tran, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah,
so that's all.
I think that we should revisit this game in this way maybe in a year. Like I want to see what Creation Kit and other people do to the game.
And or even Bethesda themselves, like what do they, because they always do a lot of DLC for their games. So what do they see fit to add? I mean, in some ways, the DLC of these Bethesda games is always the best part, in my opinion. Like I think for instance, like Far Harbor was the best of Fallout 4. Like it was all of the good things about Fallout 4 brought into a narrow view. Or what was the one that was in the swamp in Point Lookout? Was that in Fallout 3? That DLC, strongest writing of that whole game, and like strongest world design and side quest design. So it does feel like they kind of narrow in on the things I like usually in the DLCs. even New Vegas, which was great all the way through and had great writing. I think there's some of the stuff in the DLC was the most refined parts of it. I mean, in terms of building out the world and yeah, I don't know. I'm interested. I agree. Let's set a calendar reminder 1 year 1 year from today. Talk more about Star, and I may have more to say as I get through it, but
yeah.
It's a very meta conversation we had for a game that is kind of meta in Bethesda's catalog.
Yeah.
What else have you guys been playing? What's anything that kind of stands out that you wanna touch on?
Trying to think. I think I've really only been on Starfield, and I play Magic a lot. So,
what's up, people?
Ghostbusters. I've been playing through Ghostbusters. If you remember, what year did that come out?
You talking about the 360 one?
Yeah,
they remastered it, didn't they?
Yeah, it's on the PS catalog. It's one of the PlayStation catalog games that you can just play.
PlayStation Game Pass.
Yeah, the PlayStation Game Pass.
The Play Pass.
What year did this come out? 2009.
Yeah,
that game's pretty fun.
People like that
I
game.
never played it at the time that it came out, but I'm noticing all those little things that I like. So there's like collectibles that you can find in the levels that will go back to the Ghostbusters headquarters, so you can like see it there after you pick it up. Like little things like that. The banter between characters is pretty solid. That I've enjoyed, and the gameplay itself, the loop is interesting. Like the way you capture ghosts, the money that you collect from capturing them. I mean, because it's like you use the trigger to make them exhausted, and then when they're exhausted, you can capture them and then like slam them around to knock them out, and then you got to put them in the little like Ghostbusters capture ray or whatever in the box, and then you collect the box. So I don't know. I think it's just an interesting game to revisit. But also, Brooke has been playing through Road 96, which is an older game now, but
I've heard interesting things about that.
I say older game. It came out in 2021, which is a narrative game about a set of teenagers living in a fascist country, going to the border to try to find freedom. And I guess it's asymmetrical storytelling or whatever. So you experience a set of different teenagers with different backgrounds, and then there are a set of characters that you can randomly meet on your journey up because you hitchhike or you walk along the road. And so there's a bunch of events that each of these teens may experience, but they all have a different background. So it's like you're seeing each storyline. You might get one character maybe a couple times on the same, route.
That's cool.
I don't know. It's neat. And
I do recall
like seeing
hearing about
those
this.
narratives.
Yeah.
I like this kind of narrative where it can intertwine, and something that I've noticed that Brooke will have had a playthrough with a different person and has met someone who is like, it's illegal to do this, right? Like these teens are considered missing, and so the police are trying to find them, blah, blah, blah. But you'll meet someone that was kind to you previously, and that guides like your new character, this other teen. You have advanced knowledge of it. And I like that kind of thing where you're like, even though they're a cop and they're presenting themselves in a scary way to me, like I know that they might actually have my best interests at heart. So I can
That's cool.
I can venture forth and try this.
I can also imagine they could use that against you as well in fun ways. So yeah.
And the characters are like interesting. So
I remember, and this is like very silly, but I shied away from playing that at the time because I remembered hearing that it could get pretty intense and like pretty dark, and I was like, I'm not ready for that right now. Like I was just like, I don't know if I can do this.
It's definitely, there's some. Yeah, you can kind of come up with what you might expect on such a trip of, a set of teens experiencing hardship and then trying to escape it.
Yeah.
But those are my, other than Baldur's Gate 3, of course, which is the other game.
Yeah, we can. So I'm open to two ways of doing this. One, I mean, we could have a general discussion about it where we're at right now. I know Bipol and I have been playing through it this whole time, so together. So we've talked pretty consistently about our thoughts. I don't know if those are going to change at the wrap up, but I'm kind of open to doing a discussion now and then talking again once we're done, or just doing a whole thing on just Baldur's Gate, because we could probably fill up like an hour and a half of Baldur's Gate discussion.
Yeah, I think the way, what I would like to do is just to do like a brief snippet of what I feel like right now.
Yeah.
And then after we finish the game, revisit it, because I've talked to a few people about this who are in which I completely understand, like, adore the game. And in many ways, I adore this game too, but I've felt a lot of frustration from it.
Yeah.
Because I think, just like in Starfield, I think I play the game differently than how most people might want to play the game. And thus, I have suffered from it. Like choosing the path, like Minthara being a character who was very bugged, and Act 3 being an act that was very bugged. We kept falling, I feel like, into situations in which it was like, oh, well, 99% of people did not experience this because they have Halsin in the party because they didn't commit the atrocities that allegedly we committed.
Allegedly.
So
it's very important. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are so many things about that game that, I mean, we literally had an audience of people watching us play that, like in Tyler and Merced, because they had both played it 100% differently than we had, and were fascinated to see the world state and the state of events. Mossberg as well, like fascinated to see like where we were, what we were doing, and why, and the stuff also we missed by going a different route, by like not having Will in our party, for instance. There's a lot that he has to do in that story. I agree with you. I think I'm on the one hand, I am like, I'm thrilled that there is so much flexibility in how to experience this game. I also think we experienced it like no one else because we refused to, really save scum like, I feel like there are people who are just like, I'm immediately loading back the minute I don't like something. And we kind of, tried to resist that. I mean, there were some moments where something would bug or something happened that we just
when things felt unfair.
Yeah.
Then not even from a story mechanic, but just like how would we have known? You know, that's when I am okay with it.
Right.
When it feels like the game itself, like Larian did not do a good enough job.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
Yes. I guess, what I mean is like, if we intentionally made a choice, we lived with those consequences. Right.
Yeah.
In a way where I do think, I do think that is interesting, and that is a way that not a lot of people play these games. And a lot of people I've seen, this has been a topic of discussion online regularly from the launch day of this game, which is, what is the right way? And there, obviously we know that there is no right way, but a lot of people truly think that because it's a game and because you don't have a dungeon master who's human, who can react more generously to your choices, that it is designed to be save scum. And if you don't do that, then you're just wasting time, right? It's shit like that. Like, I've seen that thought thrown around.
Did they play Disco Elysium?
I hopefully they didn't, because save scumming in that game would be the absolute death of the enjoyment, right? And I mean, maybe their argument would be that Disco Elysium does have more interesting outcomes situated for you in some of those ways. But yeah, I mean, absolutely.
We don't know the ending yet. And I feel like that is my problem, is that there are such good moments that I've had, and where I had the excitement of our next session.
Yeah.
And then I started to see through the veil of the game itself breaking.
Yeah.
Due to things that we were out of our control.
Yeah.
The fact that we haven't played for so long because of the game breaking bugs around Minthara, who I want, like, we both want to hear what she has to say in these moments, because her character's just interesting. Like it's like a companion that most people don't even have. Like
Yeah.
they didn't experience the game in ways that we got to experience.
And if we did another playthrough, it's not like we're going to make those same choices again and take her again. So this feels like our one chance to do this. I agree.
So that hurt because I had so much investment in building and seeing the story through, and in the way that, you know, people play role-playing games where I'm role-playing even as we play, you know, with little things that we're doing with our companions, or you going to scratch and like, even though you know you're not going to get any new content, you still pet him, you know, it's like those little things that we do just because it's fun. That dissolving before us, and like Larian being like, you know, we're working on it. Yeah. It's like, what did you know about this before you released the game? And was it just like in that laundry list of bugs that you prioritize? Like, was my perception of how I wanted to play the game just not one that you could prioritize?
Right.
I don't know.
I think it's the reality is they looked at it and they play tested the content that people are going to see first and foremost. Right. So it's like, okay, well, the good path being the one that they imagine everyone will go down. Minthara won't even make it out of Act 1. And according to, I mean, outside of kind of breaking the game a little bit, using unconscious status as like kind of a workaround for things, there is only one way to get Minthara to join the party. And it is the way that essentially we took a very silly way to get there, a very roundabout, strange way, but there is one way, which is the grove must fall, right? And that will be viewed, and by default, from what I understand and what I've read, that is a trigger for losing Will and Karlach.
Karlach? Which I love that.
Right?
Like that, Karlach. And that makes sense to me. You know, it's like I like those decisions having universal change. And
yes, you know, but what we now know about Minthara's character moving forward, it is strange that is the case, right? Like, you would think that there would be other ways to recruit that character.
I agree with that, but it is kind of incorporated in her story as well, where she remarks to you about feeling shame about this because she was not in control of herself.
Yeah.
In completion. And that is what drives, I think, the reality of when we all accept the godlike powers in order to rule over Faerun as God. I guess
to me, there is... Yeah, we are going to rule over Faerun. I guess to me, there is an... If I was writing that story, there is an inflection point that makes even more sense, which is that take her out of that initial group of 3 people you need to kill in order to satiate the Grove situation, and have it to where she ends up a prisoner either way back at Moonrise Tower, and then that is a recruitment point if you so wish, right? And if your character meets a certain criteria in terms of not just being a goody two shoes or whatever, you know, that kind of thing. Like, there is a possibility there to always recruit that I think could be worked into the story that they just missed, which means that in any future playthrough, no matter what, we, you know, unless we did the same thing in Act 1 again, we would not get Minthara no matter what. And that to me sucks, I guess. But I get what you're saying. I mean, it is nice to have terminal endpoints for what you could consider major characters.
Yeah.
In our case, Will and Karlach being not in the story and Halsin not being in the story at all is crazy different.
Yeah.
So,
and I like... Yeah, go ahead.
Are Will and Karlach some of the ones you can choose to start as? I think Will is, but I don't know about Karlach.
That is a good question. I was under the impression...
I wonder what happens if you start as them and then try to go get this person.
That is true. Yeah, that's an interesting thing that I hadn't considered. I find it so laughable, the idea that people would pick any of those companion characters and not create their own character as their first playthrough or whatever, or as any playthrough really. But that is an interesting point.
I'm actually, I do kind of agree with you. I don't know why someone, at least for their first playthrough, would not just create their own. But
yeah,
one of the things I've been thinking about in my short time with Baldur's Gate is like, I really want to know what it's like to play this game as these characters and see what they get to experience if you're in like as them, like, especially with all the stuff you are mentioning now and other kind of similar things I've heard where it's like, well, if you do this, you lose that, or this, that, the other thing. And it's just like, okay, well, what if we are these people? How can we engage with the story and the events like that if we are them?
The game does also tackle this a little bit in the sense that the way major story moments are handled is that as long as they're in your party, you kind of basically do get to experience it as them. You can even take control of them at any point and have like you could just make your own character and then just control Will for the rest of the game if you wanted to.
I am curious if like you were playing a character who, you know, would not have agreed with any of the Minthara decisions, if that would even be available for you to choose.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be interesting if they take alignment that seriously. It doesn't seem like they really take anything that seriously in this game, like D&D wise. Because book wise,
I am curious about like if playing Lae'zel in certain positions, such as the Githyanki egg, where she's clearly like, no, we're not going to do this for the Explorer Society or whatever. Yeah, that would make it seem like if you were playing her as the main character in that conversation, she would not accept the quest. Like, you couldn't force her to do it. And there's some save scummy stuff, not even save scummy, but you can always like rotate the character again and use someone else. But I wonder if it would just be like a non-starter with certain characters. I don't know. But I don't know. This is a good question. And I also agree that when I play role-playing games, I want to make my character.
I think all this is to say that my impression of Baldur's Gate 3 is that it is the most 10 out of 10 and 8 out of 10 game can be. Like there are so many flaws that detract it and kind of sour the experience in my mind. And, it's a lot of similar things to what Bipol's saying, or just mechanical issues that don't always gel that well with the way the game functions. But the things that I value in games, as we've established up to this point, like writing and characters, are some of the best in the business. I mean, some of the best stuff that could be in an RPG. Outside of the fact that everything is always a little bit silly, which I don't mind, but, there's always like a hilarious, like, it's not quite as slapstick as like the D&D movie, for instance, but like, if I think back to Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, there was a lot of serious shit in those games, not a lot of room for humor. It was very dry. And they've modernized the writing in a way that almost everything is a little bit tongue in cheek, that I think is, I don't know.
I don't know if I necessarily even 100% agree that the older games did not have some cheesy humor in them, because I think that they did, but I do agree. Like, I think there is the tone of the game. It honestly does feel very serious sometimes, and then there are silly moments that may be jarring. Like, is there a specific example you have in Baldur's Gate 3 that comes to mind?
I guess we'll say we'll use the villains, for instance. There is no villain in the game that I guess, and you know what? Actually, maybe J.K. Simmons' character, whose name I'm forgetting, that's how little he's in the fucking game based on the kind of direction we went. But Thorn something.
Oh, Thorin, General Thorn, General Thorn. Because they call him General.
Wasn't it Thorm? Anyway,
y'all trying to remember, it was very funny.
Yeah, is he not? He is the only character who isn't silly. Like he is the only
Orin silly.
Yes, I do. Orin is like the I'm the Joker meme brought to life.
No, because it's the alignment. They're like representations, I think.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Chaotic, like she's chaotic evil.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I guess that's where all the memes about chaotic evil come from, is the fact that it's fucking
they are
stupid.
The dead three gods. They represent the gods. So the avatars should be. But yeah, this is like when we're getting into Dungeons and Dragons-y stuff.
Yeah.
We're.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I suppose it's just a shame that there was, at no point did I ever feel not completely in control. Maybe, but like, or, maybe, and that's fucking video games, but like, like these are like serious situations and you're having to make serious choices. And like, I can only think of dialogue that Thorm had as being like, legitimately taking the whole thing seriously, right? Like everyone else is just like having a laugh about it. Orin's just like, I'm hilariously evil, like all I do is kill. And I guess, yeah, that is alignment, but I don't know, it does sort of, I think back like on all the games that were the best about like having villains and having compelling characters, and they had like more serious motivations behind things.
Yeah, I think, and I think what you're seeing is, you know, Oren's motivation disagrees with our character's mindset of why we would follow anyone at all.
Yeah.
Like, whereas Thorm is J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
Made sacrifices that he later kind of regretted, it seemed like,
but was too committed, right?
Yeah. And so that's always that's like a good motivation where you're right there at the end and you're like, well, I fucking can't stop now.
Yeah.
Like, I feel bad about this.
I'll say this, I guess, and this is maybe asking too much, but compare CD Projekt Red's style of writing, which there is humor and there are lighter moments and there are characters who are silly, but like overall, like, I mean, you play The Witcher 3 and it balances those things perfectly. Like the fact that, you know, there can be dumb, silly, like fairy tale shit and the Bloody Baron in the same game is unbelievable. Like it is such a deft ability to write both of those things in a way. Like at no point was there a moment in the Bloody Baron questline where things got silly. In my opinion. I'm trying to think, but maybe there was an offhand remark or whatever, but I mean, that was serious and it was written seriously and everyone took it seriously, and you know, but like, I don't know, this game just there's not one moment that doesn't have a Marvel quip waiting in the wings.
That's what I was going to say. It's like the Marvel effect where just like writing has those quips in it, like across the board, it seems like. But in Baldur's Gate is no different.
It's a different type of fantasy though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's true. Dungeons and Dragons has always been a little silly. So
yeah. But, I mean, you know, the origins of nerds wanting to be cool. Like,
yeah,
there you go. Welcome to Marvel.
My character loves murder so much.
Yeah,
she can't do anything else.
The gods.
Here I go killing again.
This.
Yeah. I'm also naked.
Yeah, I'm naked and covered in blood, but also weird
crab
skin.
Yeah. Crab carapace.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah, I don't know. So I guess my Baldur's Gate 3 thing is I would have been absolutely enthralled and like on that 10 out of 10 if we did not experience any bug through our playthrough.
Yeah.
Or like no crazy ones, at least. Like small bugs, I'm sure are overlooked.
Yeah,
but
I guess
from what
so,
I understand, there's some like more impactful bugs.
Our
like,
Orin
what
fight
the fuck?
was completely
I heard about y'all's. Yeah.
And
that
so
sucks.
that was weird. And we've had like a couple other fights where it's like, this is strange. But it's like, you don't know until you're 28 turns into the combat that like, oh wait, no, this is not how this fight works. And then it's like, oh, I don't want to reload, man. Like, honestly.
Yeah. It is a brilliant game. It is truly ambitious, but
very ambitious.
Larian gets better at making games every time. They are truly like one of those studios that I can say I'll play anything they make no matter what. After a certain point moving forward is like, I mean, they're just Divinity Original Sin 2. It's easy to see how this game was born from that. In a lot of ways, there's a lot of similarities, but also they've taken everything they learned from making that game and applied it here in a way that could make it hard to go back to that game also, because that's a game I never finished. So I don't know. Okay. All right. We'll have more thoughts on that. I think we'll do a deep dive and talk about how we feel once we're done with it, which will be here shortly now that Larian has patched a lot of the issues that we talked about. And continues to I mean, that's the best thing we can say about them is that they are constantly fixing it.
Yeah. They're doing their due diligence, and I think all the negatives like being known and stuff, I still think they very much deserve their flowers. And if there's any reality where it's not game of the year, I'm shocked. Like, honestly, this is a banger year. If you go down the list, it's kind of crazy the stuff that's come out this year, and it's going to be really interesting to see what like gets stuff at Game Awards and all that, or even if we do a game of the year thing, what we end up deciding. But
yeah,
it would be crazy to me if Baldur's Gate doesn't walk away with all the fucking awards, because it's just so they put so much love and work into it, and you can just tell.
Yeah, I've played the most new games this year of any recent year in memory, and I'm sure we all agree on that. So, speaking of new games, Crossley, you really wanted to talk about. We'll do the last 30 minutes on the two presentations that we saw here. So what?
So I didn't do it the way I did last time. I actually watched them. I didn't just go watch all the trailers in no particular order, but I have a little list of the things I want to talk about from those.
Okay.
I don't know how you want to do it.
I'm gonna let you drive this one because I did watch them as well. So there was a state of play and there was a Nintendo Direct, basically one day apart.
Same day, yeah.
Were they the same day? I thought they were.
The same day.
Okay.
No, it was the Direct in the morning and the state of play in the afternoon. It was a banger day for content.
I'm gonna let you drive this one because I did watch them, and as usual, I hate fun, so I came away with a very with a very muted.
Very happy with both of these as a Nintendo cuck, and then I think Sony just had a lot of cool stuff to show as well. But Bipol, if you want to do what I did the last time and kind of just watch the trailers as we like are kind of talking about it, that's valid, bro, and I would be interested to see what you think. But the first thing on my list is Unicorn Overlord, which is a horrible title, but holy fuck, does this game look cool as shit.
I actually agree with this.
Yeah, like I was really shocked that they picked such a bad name, but
this is also the thing that I found the most interesting.
Yeah, it looks cool as shit, though. I'm gonna pull up the trailer again so I can kind of say what I liked about it. But
so, it's worth noting that this is a Vanillaware joint.
Yes.
So. Let me think. What was the last Vanillaware game?
Art specifically? The last one, what was it called? I'll never be able to think of it. Honestly, I'd have to look it up. But
I mean, they haven't done that many, so I guess
right. Yeah.
I guess it really was. It was 13 Sentinels was their last.
That's it. Yep, that was it.
Which is a game that I loved the story and characters of, and absolutely could not stand the tactical gameplay.
Yeah, the game. Yeah, I've heard that exact sentiment a bunch.
And then before that, it was Dragon's Crown, which was an amazing game. So
yeah, and this looks incredible. Obviously, we won't know until we play it, but just seeing the game and seeing the art style applied to that game, I'm looking at the trailer again. This looks fucking amazing. Like, I genuinely can't wait to try this out.
To me, it read like they're kind of doing a Fire Emblem, right? Am I missing that, or like Final Fantasy Tactics kind of thing?
It feels like an interesting version of a Fire Emblem. It's definitely different. Like, there's no grid combat like Fire Emblem, but yeah, it seems almost like Fire Emblem inspired in a way. Is my vibe.
Got it.
They seem critically different, though. Like, the things you're doing in this game seem very different than the Fire Emblem stuff.
Probably more story related, knowing them. So,
I could see that. And it's made by Atlas.
13 Sentinels, 13 Sentinels was half text.
Yeah, so. I think Atlas meets fucking Vanillaware is like a dream come true for me. I don't know if it'll all pay off, but it looks very fucking cool. Very excited to see how it goes.
What's next?
Baby steps. Which, I mean, say what you will, but whatever that fucking first thing they made was, where you're like the guy with the pickaxe
getting over it with the body. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could give a fuck less about that game, and honestly, I maybe will never play Baby Steps either, but this is such a cool natural progression for them that I'm just so happy that this is the direction they went, instead of making another one of the fucking pickaxe games. Like, they're doing this now, and it looks so silly and fun. I will probably not play it unless it ends up on Game Pass, but it seems like so fun. Like
Let's-
just to
let's-
fuck around and fall down a cliff and shit. Like
Just to bring this full circle to the beginning of this entire show, I was watching this presentation on a plane and became physically embarrassed when a woman looked over to see what I was watching, and it was Baby Steps, the part of that presentation, and I was like, God, man, that woman hasn't seen a video game in 40 years, looked over and saw this and was like, God, they haven't changed it. This is for children. Like, there's absolutely no, the visuals are so fucking hideous. The humor and like what was happening on screen, like it was just a guy like dressed in a
It's so
onesie
dumb.
falling in the
Yeah,
mud, and I was
it's
just
so
like,
dumb.
I wanna fucking die right now.
But you know what I mean, though? Like this is so like it like takes me all the way back to like what was it like? What was the game where it's just like you just use the
Quap.
fucking Quap? Yeah, it's like this is the new age version of that, and I'm so fucking down. It
He was
looks
also
fun.
the Quap guy, by the way.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't
so
know that. Oh,
Quap was his first
fuck,
thing,
dude.
and then getting over it was his second thing, and then now this.
I do think there's a genius in this, like, you know,
Yeah.
like the idea of it, the game design, like controls being the what you need to overcome.
Yeah,
And it does, yeah, I agree. Like this is the silliest of all games. It really understands itself.
yeah,
And I will never play it, but I might watch someone
right. Yeah,
be frustrated by it.
right. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
I did not know he also made VVVVVVVVV or whatever the fuck that game was called.
I don't even know.
But
what the fuck that
I'm
is.
looking at his
Oh, yeah,
Wikipedia
I do
page right
remember
now.
this.
Yeah, he's actually made Ape Out, which is a game I kind of liked as well. But
Never heard of that either.
it was cool. Not that long ago, 2019. Good soundtrack, really good soundtrack. Apparently he lives in New York, so if I run into him, I'll tell him what I really feel. No. Okay, what's next?
Next, I wanted to ask you. You played RE4, right?
Resident Evil 4?
Yeah,
Remake or original?
remake. You played the remake, right?
Yes to both. Yes.
Trick question.
Yeah, true question. I've played every video game.
Yeah, fair enough. Fucking, how do you feel about the DLC?
Yeah, that I was gonna. If I was leading this charge, that would be the thing I would say I'm the most excited about, because I think
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4 Remake is. I mean, in terms of just experience, that game I could see that game winning all the awards this year. Is one of the best
That's
games
the
I've
thing,
played in
right?
recent
There's
memory.
so
I mean,
much
it's-
stuff this year. Yeah,
fucking
and
nuts.
RE4 deserves some flowers for sure. So
Yeah,
it's like,
I'm interested. Yeah, the Separate Ways DLC comes out very soon. It's like next week.
it's really soon. Yeah.
And I'm down. That game was incredible. I'll play more of that. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. My favorite thing in that presentation.
Yeah. And the VR version looks pretty fucking sick, dude. Like, I feel like I would be horrified to play that shit in VR.
Yeah, it
man.
looks really slick. They found a way to make the parrying look like it works, which is crazy, because I was like, how the hell are they going to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in for sure. I'll probably, I don't know if I'll get to it as soon as it comes out, because I'm starting to become more and more intrigued about Armored Core the more I hear about it.
Interesting.
Plus Lies of P just came out, and that is getting really good reviews, which shocked me.
Correction, it comes out Monday because they're fucking idiots. And they don't believe in a work week.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that'll, yeah, there's no way. You're talking about Lies of P or the other one?
Lies of P comes out tomorrow, whereas
Okay.
I wish it would have came out this past Friday so I could have played it this weekend, but fuck me, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, this is the strongest evidence yet that games are for children. Okay, continue.
All right. Next on the list was fucking what do you call it? This I put on mostly because I'm interested if you kind of had a similar vibe that I did, but I put the Avatar game on the list because I was like,
The
am I actually going to play
Avatar
this?
game?
Yeah, the Avatar game.
Oh god
Pandora?
damn it. I'm
For
still
Frontiers of Pandora.
Yeah. I'm still in that mindset where if somebody says Avatar, I think The Last Airbender.
Yeah,
okay.
I feel you.
Avatar, yes. It looked like Far Cry, but Avatar.
Yeah, right? Which is kind of interesting. I don't know why I didn't expect that from Ubisoft, but
Yeah.
it kind of looks just like Far Cry with Avatar skin. And that, I mean, I don't know. I've never played a Far Cry, so maybe this is the one.
Yeah, it did. You know what actually gave me hope about this game was they show some gameplay of you like cutting open a fruit and eating it. Like it looked like they were like making you do each step where you have to like cut it open and then dig the shit out. I was like, maybe they're taking this seriously. Like,
Yeah, no, I can't tell if this game is going to be good or not, but it looks like it might be, maybe.
I think this game is going to be huge either way. Like, even if it's just mediocre, I do see a huge market out there for people who just want to be in the Avatar world.
Yeah.
I am not one of them. The chance of me playing this game is low. I mean, I would say usually it's like a coin toss for me. I think this is maybe a little lower than that.
This is definitely a game I don't want to buy. This is 100% a game I want to play on Game Pass.
Well, good news. Ubisoft has their own Game Pass. Congratulations. Pay $10 and get this game.
Yeah, that's a possibility I might take, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Graphics in this game are really nice.
Yeah, I'm interested. That's the best I can say is I'm actually interested.
Yeah.
And then something I'm much more interested in that we got to see more of was Helldivers 2. And holy fuck, I can't wait for this game. It getting delayed till February is like kind of whatever. But
Bipol, were you a Helldivers person? Did we ever play that together?
I never played it.
You know what it is though. The top down. That does seem like it seems like that is a game you might enjoy as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Helldivers 1 was full of like, because they make everything very difficult to do, like everything's very manual, like calling in airstrikes and reloading and doing things like that, that there's so much room for error and for people to get upset with each other that I think it's legitimately hilarious. So,
yeah, or even how like if you like resurrect a friend, the drop pod can land on you and fucking kill you.
Yeah, like
just like stuff like that.
Yeah, bringing somebody back can also kill another member of the team. It's very funny. Yeah. Helldivers 2 looks really good. Absolutely,
it does.
No complaints whatsoever.
I'll fucking ready for it.
Play it. I thought this presentation of it was extremely weak. They did the fake voice chat thing that sounded so fucking stilted. I like turned the volume off.
That was literally a real. They like gave it to streamers or something to play, and that was just it. They just took the footage of people playing.
I mean, I think it was the developers, but role play. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I turned off the audio. I was like, you guys sound ridiculous right now. Yeah.
I agree with you. They did sound ridiculous, but I just wanted to be clear. It was not like a fucking like, oh, we're going to act like we're playing it thing. It was like literally just a group of people playing that they recorded.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. Because when someone says, I'm covering you on the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like they're obviously trying too hard to like make proper like call outs and stuff. And that's where I agree with Christian is like, all right, just shut up. But
hey, yo, I'm shooting this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, what does that mean? Where are you? It's
like I feel like if you took those same 3 people and didn't tell them they were going to be in a huge video and asked them to just do their honest commentary, it'd be like, yeah, I'm so fucking sick of work. Oh, on the right. Yeah,
but at the same time,
bro.
Like if I
took a huge shit earlier.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you took any like audio from a time we've played Ready or Not, that's exactly the type of stuff we're saying. Just because we're taking our experience seriously, we're doing call outs and stuff, which that is the game, but there's nothing wrong with people doing that for Helldivers either.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That was my lens I was looking at it through.
I think it's just the delivery where they're like there's definitely someone
trying too hard.
Well, yeah, there's definitely someone out there going, I'm covering you on the right in a game right now, and that is for sure that's happening, and we've done that before. There is also like the difference between that and I am covering you on the right. Like, I don't know. It's just
no. Yeah, No, I agree.
The Division's made it so bad for me. So it's like, I just remember that
Ubisoft
thing where they were like the car. I don't know, snow. I just remember that trailer.
Yeah. Well, there was the Wildlands one as well, where it was like that Ghost Recon open world game where they were doing that, and it just sounded so bad. Anyway, okay, go ahead, Crossley. What's next?
So I wanted to bring up Spider-Man 2 because you said something, and I can't remember your exact words, but that it like maybe piqued your interest now or something like that?
I want to see this trailer, so maybe we don't talk too deeply about what it shows because I am genuinely excited about.
Yeah.
Okay. I hate Spider-Man video games. No, that's not true.
Yep.
No, I just hate superheroes and all of them. And I did enjoy Marvel's Spider-Man 1 or whatever the hell they called it. I did not play Miles Morales, so I would actually have to play that before I do this. But the trailer,
10 minutes.
The trailer, yeah, maybe. I got the platinum for that first game actually, which is crazy. It's my only platinum.
It's surprisingly easy to do in terms of like time investment. It's like you really could do it in a very short amount of time.
This game just looked like all that again, like some more shit. But I saw they added all 3 boroughs, so they have Queens, Brooklyn, and Manhattan.
Yeah.
They also did the way like the game kind of interacts with the multiple character swapping. Like you play as both Miles and Peter Parker, and you switch pretty instantly between those two. Some quests are only available to one or the other, which makes, I mean, that's how all these games work, main storyline stuff. But even side quests, it seems like. They're also, I saw the fast travel mechanic, which I felt was sorely missing from the other games. So it's just an instantaneous, you just click anywhere on the map and you
literally
in.
And then it just fades in to where you are on the map. There's no loading. It's just, all right, click the fast point and then you're there as the character's like,
I'll take it, because like swinging is some of the most fun you can do in that game, but also when you just definitely know you want to do one specific thing and it's on the other side of the fucking map, you're like, Jesus, just get me there.
Because you get distracted every time you're swinging, because it's like, oh, look, there's convicts, so someone's getting mugged, and it's like, I'm trying to collect a costume.
And it's like hard to tell through trailer footage and stuff, but I mean, genuinely, Insomniac has fucking figured it out in terms of like graphics and performance and the ray tracing in a perfect 60 frames on a console. Miles Morales is one of
really nice.
if not the best looking game I've played in modern day, and I can only imagine that this one's going to look at least equally as good, if not better, and run just as smooth. So I'm just excited to like see all this stuff in action in an actually crazy high fidelity, smooth running fucking game. Yeah,
there's not a game out there that looks better than the Demon's Souls remake. Doesn't exist.
I genuinely think Insomniac's recent games, Miles Morales and Ratchet and Clank, rival that. The visual style is just different. Whereas like
so good,
it's insane. It's insane. Really nice. I think Insomniac's really figured it out. They clearly have gotten a lot of time with like the PS5 hardware and how to develop for that in terms of loading and all this stuff that I'm talking about. And it just, I think it's incredibly impressive.
What's next?
Next is I put Where the Fuck is Little Devil Inside, because I can't believe we haven't heard more about it by now, especially on a fucking thing that was like indie focused.
Was it just me, or did that guy get canceled?
That's what I was wondering. Happened. Did something happen?
I thought that happened. Like the lead developer on that or something got canceled.
That's kind of where I was going to go with this. It's like, did it get canceled, or did the fucking guy fall off the face of the earth?
We're throwing journalistic integrity out the window here, by the way, by me just saying that and not having any remembrance or anything to back that up. But I remember people being really pissed at that guy for something.
Okay. Well, that's probably what happened to it. And then the next thing on the list, I don't think anyone's going to care about but me, but I really hope one or both of you will try it with me, is the Foam Stars open beta. It's at the end of the month, and Foam Stars essentially looks like Splatoon, but actually good. So
it's Splatoon, but on a platform that I want to play it on. Yeah.
Oh, I think I have seen the trailer for this actually. So
wait, what do you mean on a platform you wouldn't play it? You don't play your PlayStation?
No, on a platform that I would actually play it on is what I mean.
Oh, would actually play it on. Yeah. Amen, brother. Amen. And yeah, it just looks fun. And there's an open beta, so I can try it with some friends without having to commit financially. So if y'all want to try at the end of the month, I will remind y'all.
I feel like Jacob would play this.
Yeah, Jacob would 100% play.
I don't know if he has a PS5, unfortunately. But you know, we and Merced can play it and have a good time and fuck some kids up. I was listening to a stream after this presentation where I guess some, people got to get hands-on with it recently before all this, and they said it's actually genuinely a lot of fun, and they thought they were just going to pop in, try it, and jump out, and they ended up playing it all night. So that really appeals to me, just because their opinions usually really resonate with me. So
As per usual, this is a 50-50 for me, but I'll consider.
Yeah, right. And I could honestly not like it too, but Splatoon was like such a good concept that is just unfortunately on a Nintendo platform and made by Nintendo. So there's just a lot of shit I don't like about it, whether it be how they'd handled the online or just that the game kind of runs and looks like shit compared to other modern video games. Like, whereas this looks, I mean, it's got Square Enix budget and et cetera, et cetera. It just, yeah, it has potential for a fun little jump in, play some games, jump out, but we'll see.
I'm open to it. What's next?
Yeah. The only thing left is the one thing I care about most and why I'm fucking literally living on cloud 9 since I've seen it, and that's Final Fantasy 7 shit. Oh, I can't even describe how fucking like I literally have felt high ever since I've watched this trailer. Like Final Fantasy 7 does something to me inside that I just can't explain. And something about seeing that trailer and seeing a scene and hearing a line of dialogue that I have beforehand only seen as like shitty PS1 polygons with a text box, and I can immediately know what I'm seeing, and I know what moment of the game we're in, and I know all this stuff, and it's like I've never seen this before. This is all new to me. This is all a new scene. I've not seen this, but I know exactly what they're pulling from, and just how they're playing with the canon in an interesting way as well. And I mean, going back to what I was saying about Insomniac, I think maybe the only game that actually truly rivals Insomniac's graphic fidelity is Final Fantasy VII's remake after they updated the graphics for PS5 and PC. It blows my mind that games can look this good and run this well and have so much going on in screen. And I don't know, everything about this game excites the ever living fuck out of me. And I feel like I'm living the best timeline where all of my favorite things just like exist and or get remade, and it's just, yeah, I'm so excited for Final Fantasy 7. I don't know how you guys feel about that franchise, but that is like my number one fucking shit.
I like Final Fantasy. I didn't like 7 Remake that much, but I do need to go back and play it and give it a better shot. I feel like I made it about halfway through that game. Nomura has truly infested your brain at this point.
You know, it's funny you say that, because this is I feel like the only time he's really delivered since Kingdom Hearts 2. Like, I feel like after Kingdom Hearts 2, he disappointed me time and time again, whether it be, was he Final Fantasy 13? I can't remember if he was the creative lead.
I don't think so. I think the first time they gave him
was 15.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that might be right. I can't remember if he was the 13 series or not, but whether or not he, didn't really come through there. 13 sort of ended up being a letdown after the first go round. It's like I didn't really like the sequels, even though maybe they were better. I just couldn't get invested in them. And then fucking 15, obviously, that's like a whole nightmare there in itself. And then Kingdom Hearts 3 is a huge fucking disappointment. Like, there's just really no other way to talk about it. It's just a fucking bummer that happened the way it did. And then 7 Remake is like the first time he fucking delivered, and he delivered every single way imaginable and then some. And then it looks like he's fucking doing it again. And I can't even believe the game is coming out this soon. It's been 4 years maybe since the first one, and we're already getting this one. It's pretty good turnover for a Square Enix game. Like,
that's true.
Usually it takes them fucking 20 years. So
yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I guess the 7 Remake felt dragged out and slow in a way that this doesn't look necessarily.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So I do I'm more interested in this, but yeah, I mean, what's funny is since I didn't finish 7 Remake, and as I understand the story does take some wild divergences, it makes perfect sense, because I was watching this trailer and I was like, there was shit in here that does not look familiar to me at all. Entire characters, new characters and shit, and so I was like, all right, well, maybe I should finish up 7 Remake. It wasn't that long of a game, so I could just start over on PS5 and get through it. But
I definitely, and I know we haven't talked about it because you haven't finished it. I definitely, you can tell they're doubling down on how 7 Remake ended in this one, and that wasn't just some casual thing they were doing to they're going a really interesting direction.
There might be some multiverse shit in this game, and I swear to God, if they do that, I'm gonna be so annoyed.
Yeah, I don't know how deep you want me to touch on whatever they're doing, but
We don't need to
there's some silly stuff going on for sure.
But like, it's just multiverses at this point. It's like, all right, well, we've seen it. We can come up with a new narrative way.
I think what's interesting about it for this specifically is that it's like, so the first one being called Final Fantasy VII Remake, and what that can mean. It wasn't remaster. It wasn't blah, blah, blah. I think this is the first, or it was the first game to really set the like definition of what a remake can really be and make sense in terms of how they're handling like what you're saying, kind of multiverse stuff. They're like, I don't know how to explain without like
I
going
understand.
super.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying. It takes the idea of remake as a term literally, which is taking some things that are familiar concepts and characters and crafting a new story out of it. I mean, that to me does seem, I appreciate that they're willing to do that. I think that for that to truly have stakes, they need to commit to it in a way that doesn't just give people the fan service they want, also by allowing the original universe to creep in, which watching this trailer was the impression I was kind of getting, which is, okay, these universes are going to start blending. That's Nomura to the fucking bone right there. But
so I guess without spoiling anything specific, what I will say about the end of 7 is they very plainly and clearly state via the events that happen that like, okay, from this point forward, anything could happen. The stuff is like going to be on the same train track of events, and we're going to go to like the same place, but otherwise like anything could happen and you're not going to know what to expect. Someone that never died in the original game could end up dying, or the way they, go on this part of like, I don't know, a certain chain of events could be like different, even though they're still going on that chain of events. It's like the stuff along the way seems like it's going to be very different. And
Cloud dies and Aerith picks up the Buster Sword.
No. But there's some interesting stuff. God, I wish I could talk to you more about it. Fuck. All right. Well,
if I never end up playing 7 Remake, we'll just have a thing where you just explain everything to me. Like you had to do when I asked you what the fuck happened between Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3.
Is that a thing we did?
Yeah, like you're just like, okay, here's the deal, and just told me everything.
Oh, I don't remember doing that, but that sounds like something I would do.
Yeah, so. I asked you what was the deal with the handheld games, because I played a few of them, but not really, and you just, last one I had played was like Chain of Memories or something. Yeah, anyway. Maybe we'll end up doing that. Okay. I think that'll do.
Yeah.
I feel like we did the thing. Any last thoughts, people? Anything you want to get out there?
Nothing comes to mind except Ghostbusters pretty good. I missed out.
There's a Ghostbusters VR coming for PSVR 2.
There's an alternate universe where you played Ghostbusters in 2009 and it changed the trajectory of your life.
I mean, maybe I'd be living in New York.
Yeah, dude. Go to the fire station, man. It's here. Next time you're in town, we should do that. They don't let you in, by the way.
Oh. I know all the ways in now. You can go in through the sewers. The sewer entrance.
All right, fellas. Thanks everyone for listening. Good show. Good chat.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Faux show. Oh, while we're here, do y'all want to like do an end of the year discussion? Kind of decide what's like objectively the greatest game of the year. Objectively,
I'm always down for some good old fashioned arguing.
Yeah.
Yes. I intend to, mostly because I have no idea even today what I would pick. And if you ask me, if I did come to a conclusion and then you ask me again tomorrow, it might have changed.
Change,
So,
yeah, right.
I don't know. So I think by the end of the year, I will have a lot of things to say about a lot of games. Which
I'll have my honorable mentions ready.
Good. Perfect. Goodbye, one and all. Thank you.
Cool. I got an audio file.
Perfect.
Where did it save?